giant Lake Simcoe perch. Look at the belly sag on that. Just an absolute trophy. Beautiful fish. All right guys, after our last Simcoe video, we got a lot of questions regarding the baits we are using. So in this video, I'm going to go over two of the main baits we use to catch those big perch on Lake Simcoe. And these are also good for Lake St. Clair. As you can see, what we have in front of me here, beaded spoons. These are silver beaded spoons. We actually have some brass colored beaded spoons that we'll show you in a second here. But these are my go-to baits. Not always necessarily the chartreuse bead. That was a good one on Simcoe this past weekend when we went up. But these beaded spoons are very, very good. These are called Slab Grabbers. Slab Grabbers, in my opinion, are one of the best, if not the best, beaded spoon you can buy for your perch fishing. So the beaded spoon you see here was my #1 bait for Lake Simcoe in the video that we filmed. You can see it's a bit of a bigger spoon. I'm just going to throw in one of the smaller spoons that you can see. This smaller spoon's great bait for Lake St. Clair, but you can just see the size of that bigger spoon. And I mean, it's not the biggest yet. These flutter spoons are very, very good. I'll give you the top view there so you can see the profile. So you can see the big top part on this spoon. That gives it the flutter action. These small spoons still flutter pretty good, but nothing like that big Slab Grabber. So you can see the size there. And just going a little more into detail about the size of these spoons. So the bottom spoon there with the chartreuse bead, that was my #1 bait on Simcoe this past weekend. Lake St. Clair as well. I've got it once on Lake St. Clair this year, and that's my #1 color bead this year. But I like to cycle through. You can see the bigger spoons there. I mean, those are significant spoons. We'll throw in a smaller one just so you get an idea. So the middle two there, red beads, those are called Simcoe Slayers, another very, very good bait for Lake Simcoe. You can see the thickness of those spoons too. The weight is important because when you do drop these down, they flutter off to the side. So you can get a pretty good idea there of exactly what we're using. So we get asked a lot how to fish these. The best way to explain how to fish these is you want them to flutter off to the side. It calls those schools of perch in. As I'm sure you've seen if you ever sight fished, you know, like last weekend, we were fishing in 10, 11 feet of water. So, I mean, there's lots of perch down there. Without an underwater camera, you can't really see too far in any direction. So basically, you're looking down your hole. How we get these to flutter is we're going to drop it straight down. If you drop it down slowly, what you're going to see is that spoon is just going to go straight down to the bottom. If you let out line really quick, it's going to flutter off to the side pretty aggressively. So how I like to do it is I drop it straight down to the bottom. I line up, make sure I find bottom with my line being straight. If you can sight fish, it's easy because you can see where it is. If you're in 20, 30 feet of water, it's best to let it out slow just so you can find bottom. And then how we're going to do it is we're going to yank that rod up, you know, 2, 3, 4 feet to the top of the hut if you have to, and let it down aggressively. You don't want your line to get caught on the ice. You want that line to free fall back down. And what you're going to see is that spoon's going to slowly flutter off to the side 3, 4, 5 feet, and that's calling those fish in. Flutter spoons are a great way to catch big perch on any body of water. I have a 13-inch perch down my hole that I just caught. This is going to be a big one. Hopefully stays buttoned. Oh!
It's a good one there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what you come to Simcoe for. Look at that. On that Slab Grabber. Oh, seen him come in sight fishing. It's a big one, Alan.
That's a nice one right there.
Just a jumbo. You can see what that hit. Oof.
Yeah, that's what we came here for.
That's what we come here for. What's that, about 12 and a half, 13 inches?
Yeah, probably about.
Real big girl. See if we can't get a few more. So here we're going to take a look at my top 5 colors, my top 5 spoons for Simcoe, St. Clair, any perch body of water that I fish. You can see the chartreuse bead here. That's, I would say, my #1 spoon this year. Years past the Simcoe Slayer, which is a significantly bigger spoon. You know, it's hard for those smaller, per se, dink perch to hit that. That Simcoe Slayer is a very good spoon. One of my top colors with the red bead. I also have it in an orange bead as well. But that's past years, that's been my overall #1 bait. And you can see we have the brass spoons as well. I cycle through these. You will find that sometimes they want a different bead color. If chartreuse bead isn't working, I'll go to the white. If that's not working, I'll go to, you know, an orange or a red. But between those 5 spoons, I can catch all the perch in the world. When dealing with spoons, we also want to take a look at the shape of the spoons. You can see this bottom orange bead spoon here, how wide the top is. I mean, I call that a bigger kite kind of spoon. That's really going to flutter off to the side. That's going to have a lot of action. It's not the biggest spoon, but it's going to have big action due to the top of that spoon, the head on it. That's what catches the water when it does flutter down. So when you free fall that line down, it's really going to flutter off to the side. Then you see we have kind of a medium spoon. You know, this is just a good shallow water spoon. It's a very good spoon. And then you can see the Simcoe Slayer at the top there. Big action on that being such a big spoon. And you can see the more kite-shaped head on the white bead spoon. So you just get different actions for what you're going to use. So you just have to feel it out. It's nice to have a selection. When we were on Simcoe, my partner, he was using a bigger kite head spoon, one of these Slab Grabbers, and he was catching more fish due to the action. So I switched it up and we caught more fish. As you can see, there's a wide variety of different types of spoons. It's important to have a good box of spoons for perch fishing. It really is. This is my #1 go-to bait for perch, Lake St. Clair or Lake Simcoe. You can see the size of that Simcoe Slayer now, the two of them in there. They're big spoons, but they catch big perch. The other bait that's important to talk about when it comes to Lake Simcoe perch, even Lake St. Clair perch, is these jigging wraps. You can see I have a few different sizes down there. These have very good action. You can see the top one there, that's a walleye size jigging wrap. I wouldn't use that for perch, but these two right here, these are prime time perch baits. My Simcoe fishing partner got me hooked on these, and these work unbelievable. You can see they have the bottom treble there. Sometimes we'll put a minnow on that. You know, you can put spikes or a wax worm on that as well. And truthfully, sometimes you don't even need it. This past weekend, they were hammering these without any kind of bait on it. The only one problem fishing these is you can see that front hook. Sometimes that front hook's going to get caught on the hole. They're tricky to fish. They take a little bit of time using it. The nice thing about these is when you get a school of perch under you, you can drop these basically straight down. They don't swim off to the side too much. So I mean, where one of those spoons might take me a little bit while to get down to the perch, if you're in deep water, you want to keep that school of perch under you, you know, and that flutter spoon might take a while to get down. These get straight down very quick. They're obviously weighted appropriately, and they work very good. How we fish these is we drop them down to bottom. If you're not sight fishing, you want to hit bottom, and you want to reel up, you know, 6, 7, even a foot off bottom. And you just slowly pop these along, kind of quick up and semi-slow down, and it's going to have a really erratic action. Sight fishing, you can really see the action on these. These are a prime bait, and all the colors seem to work. I was catching really good big fish on that orange one. The goby color is good, the perch color is good, the UV color is good. These are a hot bait for Lake Simcoe perch.
He came up.
Alan, oh my God, dude, this is...
He came up.
Alan. Oh, this is a monster. I need big time out. This is huge. This is huge. Look at it. On my rod. Okay, just don't do that. Don't do that.
Yep.
This is a monster. This is... Oh. Look at that. What's that? That's over 13.
Yeah, he's 13 and a half probably.
Look at how that engulfed the spoon. Sun's going down out here. We're getting ready to go. Let me hold this up for you. We just had a huge one coming on the graph. And sure enough, Slab Grabbers what I'm using. Giant Lake Simcoe perch. Monster. We're getting some monsters out here. Oh man. You know how happy that makes me? Personal best, and then we're catching them like that. Well over 13 inches.
Yeah.
Is he on you? You got him.
Oh man.
Yes.
Big and
Giant. Hold that up, Alan.
that right there is what we come to Simcoe for. He's on this thing bait so much.
That was the one that I seen.
And he doesn't even want to let it go.
Hold that one up. Holy
And that's
cow.
a giant right there. He came in
That
aggressive.
close to the camera. That's one holding up.
And he's lively.
Wow. That's a giant.
We're looking at probably a good 13 inches at least.
13 and a half? Yeah.
Nice fish.
Wow. That's a big one.
He was aggressive, that one.
God, Alan, do you see that fish?
Oh, there's a few right
Oh,
now.
I just missed him, Alan. I got a 13 looking at me. What do I do? Just dead stick it?
Or move it up above him.
He's coming. He's coming. My jig's swimming stupid, though. Giant. I don't think I hooked him very good, though. I don't think I hooked him very good, Alan. It's a giant perch. Giant Lake Simcoe perch on the Slab Grabber. Like, look at that perch. Look at that. gonna show you how he's hooked. Just barely hooked in the corner of his lip. Seen him come in? I mean, that's a 12 and a half, 13 incher. Man, that's a good one, Alan.
That's a nice one right there.
Sight fishing these,
too.
oh, sight fishing these in this shallow water, oh, unbelievable.
You wouldn't even know that they hit someone.
You wouldn't.
That's the thing, unless you were sight fishing.
Look at the mouth on that guy, barely hooked in the corner.
And you know, when we're 50, we probably won't be able to do this.
No.
Or else we just won't have a back.
Your back's broken.